Hey everybody, how's it going? Gummo Rex here. Yes, that is my giant bear. Hyped today to talk to you guys about the demise of Kaido and how Law will play an integral role in making this happen. So in chapter 763, we're introduced to Law's full name, and we find out that his full name is Trafalgar D. Water Law. And I know many of us are distracted with the fact that he's a D when we find out his full name, and we think that's the main importance here. But Oda actually buried Trafalgar and Water in his full name here because it links to the Napoleonic Wars and the Battle of Trafalgar and the Battle of Waterloo. So the key linker here between these two battles is Napoleon. So we speculate that Napoleon is actually a representation of Kaido, and we'll get more on this in a minute, but we know that Oda loves to take mythological ties, current events, world events, and pull them into his One Piece series here. And what Oda's actually done is, I'm sure many of you have heard about the Battle of Trafalgar and how Napoleon was teamed up with the Spanish and how they ultimately battled the British. And a key point here, yes, the British won, but the key point was that the Spanish were taken down. And essentially, you can see the connections between Daffy, his crew, and the entire Dressrosa area being exactly like Spain and having Spanish ties. So what was left over from the Battle of Trafalgar was Napoleon and his French army, and some time went by until he went to the Battle of Waterloo. And this is where things get really interesting. So in this time period, right before the Battle of Waterloo, it's known as the 100-day period. And I want to point out that Kaido is 100 Beast Kaido. Kaido has many similarities to Napoleon here. He's also an emperor. Napoleon was an emperor. Napoleon was feared by his subordinates, feared by outside people, of course. Kaido was feared by, for example, Momo and Kinemon were afraid of him. Some internal ties, we see subordinates being horrified by him in many situations in the anime and in the manga. Napoleon was not only known for his ruthlessness, but also his ability to start a massive war. And as we've seen here, Kaido wants to start a massive war, create a war that this world has never seen. With this, Kaido also has the subordinate X-Drake. X-Drake looks just like a Napoleonic soldier. So ultimately, I think what Oda was trying to do here was keep it a little more subtle. He kind of gave it away with Law's full name, Napoleonic Wars being tied with the Spanish, all of Dressrosa, Daffy and his crew looking exactly like Spain and the Spaniards. And I think he was then trying to hide it a little bit, trying to push people off of this trail that they've been going down here. And he was trying to not make Kaido look just like the French. But ultimately, I think the same plot will entail. So now we bring in the importance of Law and tie him into the story here. So there was a famous British warrior, and during the Battle of Trafalgar, he was fatally wounded in taking down Napoleon and the Spanish army. So it's really important here. People have tied Law to being fatally wounded while taking down Kaido. It's important that we look at Law's full name here. He's not just Trafalgar D. Law, he's Trafalgar D. Water Law. And Water Law is like Waterloo. So ultimately, yes, Nelson in the representation of the mythological ties here and the world history, Law not only died in this representation in Trafalgar, but he's actually going to die in the Battle of Waterloo here. So Napoleon, or essentially Kaido, died in the Battle of Waterloo. And not only this, but Law has all kinds of representations. His ship says death, his fingers each spell out death, and I think that these have been foreshadowing from the start that Trafalgar D. Law will actually die during the Wano Kuni arc here. So we learned a long time ago about the Appi Appi no Mi and its ability to potentially grant eternal life, but for sure give the eternal surgery, where the user sacrifices his own life to do this eternal surgery on someone. What's important here is we also know that at some point in the past had the Appi Appi no Mi. At some point it was mentioned that there was a certain doctor who had this devil fruit. So personally, after we were introduced to this OP Appi Appi fruit, I ultimately was hoping that the eternal surgery would be given by Law on Luffy towards the end of the story. I thought that Luffy's been getting so much poison, so many things wearing down his body. He's got all these similarities to Goldie Roger being poisoned and having these diseases that might take him out towards the end of the story. I thought Oda was going to try to twist this, have Luffy actually live at the very end of the story, and have Law sacrifice himself for that cause. Now I'm pulling away from that theory, and what I've actually been thinking is that the old user of the Appi Appi no Mi granted immortality, or did this eternal surgery on Kaido, and now at the end of the Wano arc here, Law's not going to grant eternal surgery to someone else, but what he's actually going to do is reverse the surgery, sacrifice himself, and make Kaido no longer immortal. With Kaido no longer being immortal, we're going to see some craziness. Of course, we're going to see Luffy go Gear 5. He's going to then awaken his Devil Fruit. He's going to take down Kaido. It's going to be epic to see. Maybe he's going to one-shot Kaido like Kaido did to him. No, I know these are all far-fetched, but fun to think about. Ultimately, I think that Law is going to be sacrificing himself to reverse Kaido's immortality, and it's going to be the demise of Kaido. Kaido's then going to be vulnerable to attack, maybe an epic, super long battle with Luffy, maybe some other characters as well, but I think Kaido will then be vulnerable to death. So what do you guys think? Do you think Kaido actually represents Napoleon? Do you think Napoleon's ruthless character, his being mean to subordinates, his feared by everyone, his representation of the 100 days, him being 100 Beast Kaido, his links to the Battle of Trafalgar and the Battle of Waterloo, his ties to Law and Law trying to take him down, Law's full name being Trafalgar D. Waterlaw sounding like Waterloo. What do you guys think? With this, do you guys think that Law has the ability to reverse a potential eternal surgery that was done in the past, not only to grant it in the future and sacrifice himself like that, but do you think he's able to reverse it on someone else? Please comment down below, you guys. I'd love to hear from you. Smash that subscribe button. So happy to be in the One Piece community. Love you guys. Thank you so much. Have a great day.